Hello everybody, welcome to the stream. My name is Jose. I am a Golden in Kendo and this is Kendo Tips Live. I don't know, I just came up with that. Welcome everybody, thank you for passing by. I am happy to have you here. Today the plan is that we're going to talk about developing our training, things that we can do to improve our Kendo, to work on good Kendo, good and strong Kendo. And if you have any questions, this is the place to ask them. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it and have fun. The main reason I wanted to do this theme is because right now, obviously, this is the season where there's going to be no tournaments, no events. Maybe very few places will have a couple more events for the rest of the year, but pretty much most of the people are done with events. And I think it's a good time and a good place for us to start having some focus in our practice so we can develop the Kendo that we want. Now, if you were here during my stream with Andy Fisher, he mentioned something that I relate to a lot, and this is one of the things that I always try to pass down, and it's the fact that you need to have an internal image of what Kendo you want. He mentioned that part of his learning in Kendo, especially when he started, was that he will watch videos and try to memorize, to burn images. He actually said burn an image into his head of what Kendo he wanted and try to replicate that during the dojo. So he'll record himself and then try to match what he was missing. So it's kind of a little bit of the point doing that today, try to figure out how we can do that and some of the things that we need to watch out and to look for. Shen, I said hi on text, but thank you for passing by. Hui, thank you very much for passing by. Hello. If you guys haven't, please hit the like button. If you know anybody that will enjoy the stream, I will appreciate if you can share it to them. So I have two main videos today. I think I'm going to be able to go through the first video that I started on my last stream, and it's a demonstration from Keisho Police Department. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I'm probably butchering that. So today I'm doing my stream standing up, but I have a chair here, so I kind of just want to move it real quick. And what was I gonna say? The main thing that we always want to have in mind when we're watching ourselves and the things that we want to develop in our Kendo, it's always look for the positive. Look for what you're doing right. Whenever you record yourself, don't focus on what you're not doing or what are you doing wrong. You always want to try to have one goal in mind and try to focus on this one and analyze when you do it right, what is it that you did that made that happen. So I think maybe next stream I will put a video, or maybe maybe next stream I'll put a video of something that I'm working on specifically. Right now I'm working on a good follow through and a good arm position after, because I feel like sometimes I tense up too much after the strike. So this is something that I've been working on. I feel like I have had improvement. So whenever you want to improve for your Kendo, something that you would like to do, you want to try to do that. Try to figure out what happened the times that were successful, rather than, oh, I did it wrong. I did it wrong. This is not helpful for grow. Shan, you said you recently been experiencing the following 2 categories of Kendoka: people who you can tell the movement before they commit, and people who can't. You haven't noticed this until recently. So you would like to do well against people who you can't tell they're coming. Usually your kohais and most of your senpais, you can't tell they're attacking before their shinai moves. So in my practice, what I try to do is not wait for that moment when they're attacking. So what I mean is this, because I think this is a very important topic for our growth in Kendo. If you are there, like let's say that this is you, if you're just there waiting for the opponent to move so then you can plant a reaction, you're behind, right? But instead what I try to do, and like this is the simplest way to put seme or pressure or anticipation, whatever you want to call it, that if this is you, I try to be the first one to start applying pressure, to start closing in the distance and trying to catch my opponent to do that, to make a decision at the last second. So at this point, if I'm doing it right, I am not stuck, because the biggest problem about waiting is that your feet are planted. So if you have to readjust which direction you're gonna go and so on, then it can be a problem. But if instead you are applying the pressure, and then when you see a reaction is when you make the decision to do a technique, I think this can start taking you to the next level. And I think the simplest or the easiest way to start achieving this is, especially at the lower levels, is just attack. Figure out what it looks like when you approach somebody, and then what happens when you throw a technique. So most likely what's going to happen, and Shen, I believe that we talked about this a while back, is that if you make the decision to just go for men, you're gonna get hit a lot of kaeshido. This would happen. So you're gonna start learning what do you need to do, identify what happens after you take the first initial approach, and then you can adapt to another technique, for example. So if you see that happening, there's a lot of kaeshido, well, guess what? Most people, when they're reacting to kaeshido, the first thing they do is this. Kote opens up. So you start experiencing a little bit of different vocabulary, I guess it will be the word for what I'm looking for. Does that make sense? Shen, you said, yeah, you tried those. The problem is your senpais don't react to your attempt at seme. So that means that you didn't really look, or you weren't threatening. When that happens, when the person doesn't move, is that you didn't threaten them. So you need to find something else, some other motion, some other movement, a different dynamic. So you had been attacking your senpais from outside. So if you attack your senpais from outside, guess what? You become much more predictable, because it takes you longer for your attack to come, and maybe you will get one. But then after, when they start getting the timing, especially if they have experience, it will be really easy for them to deflect you and deflect you and just, put you aside. And so you received a lot of ojiwasa. So again, if you are in ojiwasa and shikakewasa, the beginning looks the same. Both you have to put pressure. So maybe this is something that is working for you because you're putting pressure, but your senpais are coming in regardless. If you're doing it like this, okay, it's good. But if you're just waiting, you're putting yourself at risk for bad position, because they can also start learning your timing. Maybe you'll get one, but then they realize, okay, every time I'm coming, he's doing this, so then let me plan for this. Let me just do something else. You always want to, I don't know. Oh, okay, you didn't mean that. You said that you meant the one getting hit by ojiwasa. Oh, so you are getting hit by ojiwasa when you are attacking from the outside. Okay. Discipline, you said seme starts with knowing the construction of the shinai and understanding your distance. So, sorry if I'm translating I'm always trying to make sure that we stay here in English, just so everybody kind of gets the same page, just because, we have different levels, so I don't want to confuse everybody. So, I think you're correct. You need to understand your reach with your shinai and what your distance is. But seme is like very complicated to break down. It's hard because I actually know senseis that they say you don't even know seme. You don't even understand the construction of seme until you reach rokudan, right? Actually, good friends of mine, they just say you start experiencing seme once you're going for that rokudan, once you're in that rokudan, and before that. And let me tell you what I interpret from this is that you shouldn't be worried about all these elements, right? You should try to do and learn from experience. Learn from the reaction that you get from your opponent and try to figure out what is happening when you do these things. Because everybody has patterns. Everybody kind of just falls back to different patterns. So maybe, as a matter of fact, if I shared this a while back, I think it's in the Discord server. If you see the article, Know Your Opponent from Chiba Sensei, I think it's a great example of trying to understand seme without really saying the word seme. Because he talks about closing the distance, making sure that you play with your opponent's confidence or lack of confidence. It's a lot of good elements when it comes to that. So I don't know. Let me know what you think about that. Hui, attack from Toma need a lot of skill, you think? So it does need a lot of skill. When I was, funny enough, I think before, I spent 5 months in Japan before the last World Championship. And before going to that trip, my focus, or the focus that was given to me by my sensei, was attack from far, learn how to have the maximum reach from far, being able to attack from the farthest distance to surprise your opponent, right? But when I got there, the focus of the senseis that took me in was the opposite. Learn to attack from a closer distance. So of course there was a time where I was attacking from way too close, right? But this is not what they meant to teach me. But the thing is that the technique itself, the closer you are, the more surprising it can be, and more surprising it can be from your opponent as well. So that's why you have to be careful. But if you make a decision to attack from very far away, you're putting yourself at risk at being countered, being somebody doing ojiwaza. I think the best example we have recently is Murakami's men. How he does his men, where he's taking the step in, and then he pushes in with the left foot. So the right foot kind of slides in, and it almost looks like he's going to step down. But if he finds that opportunity, then he pushes. I think that this is a good example of a far away man. And even so, he doesn't do it from Toma, right? So you gotta experience that. You gotta practice that. I hope that makes sense. Let me catch up. Shen, you're saying that where you are going with this is that your sensei had been teaching you how to kill the shinai, and we need to step inside opponent's uchima. Sorry. So me keep hitting from outside of opponent's uchima. So okay, so you're trying to keep hitting from the opponent's uchima because you're afraid. So you had been forcing your way in and trying to use your shinai to fight for center, knowing you won't be able to react to a strike with your eyes. But the thing is, you started to be able to prevent your senpais from doing their waza. Cool concept, yeah. Excelente. Oh, sorry, I started reading the Spanish comments, so I kind of switched to Spanish. David, dame un segundo, ya te respondo. Ya leo el comentario completo. So, one of the things that you want to... It's tricky because I know what you're saying, and I just want to clarify this because I think it becomes kind of like an interpretation thing, and many people, they take it the wrong way as well. So, killing the shinai, it's good. What is not good is for you to focus on the shinai instead of your opponent. You gotta remember that your main goal is to strike the opponent, is to finish the fight. Let's put it that way. Is to finish the fight by getting your ippon, right? To kill your opponent. So if you focus on the shinai, a lot of people tend to do things like this. So when they're trying to take the center, they're pushing to the side, and then themselves, they get out of the center as well, right? Or, when people are coming, they just do a lot of exaggerated motions to move away. You always want to do a technique where your center or your tip is going towards the opponent. Perfect example was from that stream I did with Andy, that Ega Sensei, he's reacting as a Kaeshi Do, but he saw that there was an opportunity, and instead he went in for a men. So he ended up looking more like a Suriage men. And this type of things, this type of reactions where you have your center towards the opponent or your intention towards the opponent are the ones that you're looking for. Again, that was Ega Sensei testing for his Hachidan. So, anyways. David, ok, llevo 2 meses entrenando en el Kendo y he encontrado lo que necesitaba en tu vida a nivel físico y espiritual. Te encanta. Y mis videos te han ayudado mucho. Muchas gracias. Estoy preparándome con un canal en español. Se llama Kendo Tips en español. Y todavía no he puesto ningún video, pero pronto. Gracias por pasar, gracias por el apoyo. ¿De dónde eres? ¿En qué país estás? Yo estuve en Perú el mes pasado y bueno, quiero seguir en contacto con la gente de Latinoamérica. Quiero visitar España también, así que déjame saber. Okay, so how about we go into some videos? As I mentioned before, this is Keisho's presentation. This is actually their dojo. This is actually their training space is huge, humongous. So it's a good place to be. Anyways, let me know if you guys can hear this. So Shen, if you see some of the things, we're gonna see some Jigeiko interaction from them a little bit towards the end. Let me know if you see something of what we've been talking about from them. Okay, I'll be interested in hearing your thoughts. David, ¿hablas inglés? Déjame saber, por favor, para tratar de mantener el balance, pero se me hace difícil, por eso que estoy haciendo otro canal en español. So, Kotemen, for me, it's a very, very good technique to have in your belt. Not only because it's a good technique to have for tournament, but also because I think it's a bridge to many other techniques. The timing of it, understanding how to bring your foot forward as you're attacking, I think it's essential. Look at the footwork. Look at the left foot as it's coming in for that kotemen. Right? It's almost the same timing of, if not the same timing of the fumikomi, right? And I'll tell you this. One drill that I like to do with people when they're having problems with their left leg or dragging the back leg, the main thing to practice to solve this is kotemen. The reason for that is because if you do this, when you do kotemen, especially when you do it at that timing, like with that rhythm, you're forced to bring your left leg forward in order to do the men, right? When you do two fumikomis, you could do kotemen without two fumikomi or with only one. But if you're focusing on doing two fumikomi with kotemen like this, there's no way you can do this without bringing your left foot forward. And for some reason, this is natural to do when you're doing kotemen, but then when they do the men, they drag the leg on the men. So what I do is that if you're dragging your left leg, what you want to do the kote men and do the kote and the men with the same footwork. So understand how kote feels to then transfer that feeling from your back leg into the men after. So I don't know if that makes sense. I think that's a fairly complicated explanation. Let me see. Okay, so if you're dragging your back leg and you practice kotemen, focus on how it feels for your leg to transition from the kote to the men. And then apply this to every time that you are dragging your leg. So if you're gonna do men, think that you're gonna do another technique with your left leg. So a friend of mine actually gave me the tip to do that. When you do your technique, think that you're gonna do another fumikomi extra, so that way your left leg, your back leg comes in quick and is ready to keep you pushing you forward. Oh, that makes sense. Let me see. David, you're from Chile. Okay, in 2 hours more you go to training. Okay, que te vaya bien. Just a little bit. Okay, so hablas un poquito. Voy a tratar de cambiar. Lo que estoy hablando aquí es que para tener un buen trabajo de pierna, para que no se quede la pierna atrás, es que lo hagas con el mismo timing, con el mismo ritmo del kotemen. Cuando haces el kotemen, la pierna izquierda siempre viene hacia adelante para hacer el men. Entonces tienes que hacer lo mismo después del men para que no se te quede la pierna atrás. Okay? I hope that makes sense. Espero que se tenga sentido. Luis, you really like how they keep things alive during the drill. Yes, and that's another thing that I mentioned on last practice. Um, so when I said last practice is that you don't do practice just to go through the drills. You want to learn, and both kakarite and motodachi are learning. So the communication between them before the attack, before the technique, they try to make it as realistic as possible. So it's something you want to keep in mind as well. Um, Shen, you land with both feet at the same time when you do kote men, but you don't land with both in the same time when you tobi komi men. So the longer the step, the harder it will be for you to land at the same time. So if you're landing at the same time, most likely it's because you're doing a short step. This is cool. This is okay. But the longer the distance that you're covering, the harder it would be for you to bring that foot at the same time. Guys, if you would like to support the stream, if you would like to support this channel, you're welcome to become a member. Let me just send the link. There's a couple of benefits that you get from being a member. There's a couple perks, so I hope that you enjoy them and let me know what you think. Okay. So let's keep going. Oh, okay. Let me break down the whole thing with the kotamen real quick. So if you watch the kotamen, okay. Now let's watch it frame by frame. Okay. First, again, what Luis was saying, they're not just standing there. They're trying to make sure that everything is correct, their posture is correct, their communication with their shinai is correct, and they're trying to understand, Shen, what we were talking about earlier, what can they do with their body to create a reaction. This is a good time to practice this, not only in Jigeiko. So you see, there's a lot of tension. There's a lot of trying to understand how they feel, how their shinai feel. And when they're coming in, look, they land with the left foot immediately in order to push the right leg to do the next technique. So when this foot is landing here, if you want to stop dragging your back leg, you want to make sure to bring this leg just like you brought it for the men. So that way, the continuation is there. Sorry, I went back too far. So, see, push and immediately land to push again. Then here you can see there's a little bit different, right? He didn't do it the same way. So, but again, they're very skilled at bringing, they already know the skill to bring the left leg forward, right? So as a matter of fact, you can see it almost like, not almost, in this case, he crossed the leg. But what you want to do, you want to have that feeling that the left leg needs to come forward in order to do a technique. Hope that makes sense. Luis, thank you for passing by. Always welcome. Thank you for your feedback. I hope you're doing well too. Discipline, you said for kotamen, you can treat it like music. Treat your fumikomi like a quarter note, then speed up to 8 notes. Okay, now we're getting a little bit technical here. Then 16 notes, then 30-second note as if I was doing kakarigeko. So I think for me, I do treat it like rhythm, right? What I do is I try to just have that rhythm internally, that pop, pop. And I try to replicate that with my fumikomi and my sword. So then my left leg, I don't have to think about it if I think about doing like, so even though the third beat is not going to be played by my fumikomi and my shinai. I don't know. It's just, I get you. I don't know if you know, but I went to school for music therapy, so I know the music side of it. I love it. Justin, your senpai told you that he worked on getting his left leg faster by concentrating on pulling the leg up before he actually landed with his right leg. Yes, and this is something that Shen was talking about. This is something that you will see a lot in the short steps. We'll show it in a second. Christina, thank you for passing by. Thank you for being a member too. Okay, wait. I'm gonna do this kotemen over here. So if you notice, as he does the kotemen here, the kote, he's gonna land at the same time, pretty much. You see, like he landed slightly before, and then this is what's important, that he lands with intention to push. Here, he doesn't land with intention to push. I think that this is something that you want to avoid when you're consciously training, okay? But nonetheless, I'm not saying that he's doing it wrong. Something that is not favorable. Guys, if you haven't, take a second to please hit the like button. It really helps this channel. So now they're starting to do ojiwaza, okay? And this is kind of what I was mentioning before. For ojiwaza, you want to give pressure to the opponent. So right now, the person on the right is the one that's going to do the ojiwaza. And look what happens. They're starting from a little bit of far distance, coming in close, and then he's giving the pressure for his opponent to come in. Let's watch it one more time. Oh, this is the first one. So, okay. At this point, okay, there's contact with the swords, trying to feel your shinai, the opponent's shinai, closing the distance, and then look how he starts the motion first to trigger his opponent from moving. If you are waiting, you are late. So if you were this guy, trying to think that you're going to do Degashiramen, you are going to be behind, as you will see happens here, right? He was able to hit him before he finished his upswing, right? Or as he finishes upswing. So you want to always be the person moving forward. That doesn't mean throw yourself, because in this case, he went directly because his opponent reacted directly, because it's a drill. This is also why it's important to have a good kakarite. Good motodachi. But you want to understand when is that time based on how you push in. Interesting one for the do. Give me 1 second. So, let me go back a little bit more. So, starting far, they close the distance. In this one, okay, this one is very interesting because his opponent was going in before they actually made the distance, right? So he still came in forward, even though the distance wasn't close, right? He came in forward from here instead of from here to here. So you also got to learn about the distance and how the opponent can react based on the pressure that they're feeling. Again, great reaction from him because he went with a good technique in response. I want to show this kote real quick. I realize that there's a lot of information that I pull up here in the streams and a lot of interesting stuff. My advice, and this is something that I do personally as well, is that when there's one thing that kind of catches your attention, catches your eye, this is the thing that you want to start taking notes and always kind of keep present, because it's maybe the thing that is more interesting to you or the thing that you have that you need the most work on. and you want to polish. So don't get overwhelmed by just trying to do everything at once. Just choose one thing, work on that before you move on to the next one. Ideally, you want to break it down to figure out what things can you fix that fixes the most problems. This is my ideal plan for self-coaching, right? And I want to show this kote real quick. So if you notice, the kote is going straight forward for that degote. Now, many people think that because the shinai is on the way, the opponent is moving or whatever, they have to kind of come to the side for the kote. No. You go straight forward. And let me just play one more time. Okay, hold on. I let it go too much. Okay, so in here, he anchors his back leg, and look how the shinai goes up on a straight line, and when he comes down straight forward into the opponent. He doesn't bring the shinai to the side to then hit in an angle. He's coming in straight forward into the opponent. So now they're gonna do ojiwasa against kote, I believe. Yeah. Now, a lot of ojiwasa, it's tricky. Each ojiwasa has something special, something that is unique to them. Hold on, sorry. I feel like this camera is a little bit too high. Okay. Oh, still too high. What's going on here? Okay, maybe there. Okay, so every ojiwasa has something that's special and unique to them. Some of them is distance, some of them is timing, some of them is, I don't know, commitment. So I kind of want to use this to talk a little bit about some of the ideal things that you want to keep looking for each specific ojiwasa. Discipline, you said in ojiwasa, suriage and kaeshili usually perform at the opponent's nakayui. It's also where you would usually initiate men or do. So you mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I just want to make sure that I'm on the same that I'm on the same page, discipline, that suriage and kaeshi usually performed here. You mean like if this is your shinai, let me just go regular. So you're saying that for suriage and kaeshi, you want to hit, if this is your shinai, you want to do it over here. I agree. As a matter of fact, I like to keep it simple. I like to be general, and I like to say that I aim for the middle of the shinai. I aim for here. When I'm doing suriage. When I'm doing kaeshi, my main focus is to not cover up. Instead, forward, right? I try to make it forward. So it's just what works for me when it comes to keeping it simple. I like to think of less things as possible when I'm doing, especially my practice, right? So, but there's a couple of things that are happening with this ojiwasa. So let's go back a little bit to the first one. This was fundamental. Wait for this to pass. Okay, so first, first technique is doing I kote men, right? So what's happening? His opponent is attacking for kote, and him is going for kote to neutralize that kote and then hit the men. So ideally, what you want to be careful with is the spacing and the distance. And this is what I was talking about, being able to hit at a short distance. The kote is pretty much done in place, and then the men is going to be done shorter. The main reason why I say this is because normally when we practice kote men, we practice it the following way. We do a short kote and a longer men. If you do this here, it's not going to give you the right distance for the strike. This is the difference between regular kote men and I kote men. You want to hit the kote as compact as possible, and then the men just enough distance. If you see right here is the right foot, I'm gonna put my mouse here where the right foot is for the karite. The kote is done very short after, and then the man, he had to do it even shorter. So he actually did it the opposite. Normally people do pretty much in place for the kote and then a very compact man. But again, you have to adjust the distance of your opponent as well. So that's how it worked in this case. So discipline. You're saying that yes, to what we talked about the Nakayui, that's where the Shinai starts loses flex and starts to become stiff. So for me, I kind of see it as the sweet spot. I'm gonna say the sweet spot for this because if you hit it here, you can move it a lot. If you hit the Shinai, okay. So if you want to know, like my preferred place to hit the Shinai to get it out of the way, it's right in the middle. I call this the sweet spot. The reason for that is because if you hit it here, you're gonna get a lot of motion, right? But it's very easy for the person to come back by the time that you close the distance. If you try to hit it too far, not only you're at risk, but also it's very easy for the opponent to keep the center because it's harder for you to move the Shinai. But if you do it while you're in motion, at this spot, you're gonna get enough opening to come in, and it's gonna be very hard for the opponent to bring back the center by the time that you reach your technique. This is how I see it. It's not only about where it's easier to hit the Shinai to get it out of the way, but it's also what's going to give me the best chances of getting there before my opponent retakes the center. That's how I see it. I don't know, but you guys have different way of seeing it. Trickster, your club main loves making overhead block and get immediately those strikes. So meaning that he blocks here and then he goes down. Is that what you mean? That's the case. Yakudo all the way. How do I work against a sleeper opponent? Yes, totally. But again, you have to do it in motion. You have to do it right. I actually made a video about that. If you guys want to go watch it. So, did you catch what technique was this? How would you classify this technique? One more time. I wish we had a different angle, but how would you classify that technique? Is that okay? You say degote, Trickster. I wouldn't say degote because he hits the man, right? Remember, he is the one doing the technique. Okay, discipline. You said kote suriage men. Justin says, look like suriage men. And I'm going to say, it looks like suriage men to me as well. I'm going to say a couple of different things that makes this a little bit different. A little bit, not different, but a little bit worth noting. So, let me just get another. Where's my practice shinai? Okay, I'm just gonna get a regular size shinai. Hopefully you can hear me from here. And I will do this. Okay, so normally when people think about suriage, they think about this motion, right? Like the tip does kind of like this motion. But in this suriage, it almost looks like he just slaps the sword out of the way to go in for the men, right? And this is something that I talked about in my harai and suriage video, that you don't want to just close yourself to having one motion for the techniques. Suriage is not just the promotion, is the action of what's happening at that moment. So in this example, you can see that he's not doing that classical sweep, but he's doing it in a different way, right? He's still sweeping it off, but it's not the same angle that most of us associate with suriage. Hold on, one more time. So, okay. Another thing that I always like to point out, look that even though that he's doing suriage and he's supposed to be waiting for his opponent, he's doing it as he's moving forward. He's not doing it stuck. This is another thing you want to keep in mind when you're doing all your ojiwasa. Don't get stuck. So as he's moving forward, you see, it's a little bit of more of like a knock on the side rather than this type of sweep. It works in this case because of how I was coming, but it is very dangerous. And as a matter of fact, I believe that even his opponent kind of makes contact at the end of the kote. He displays the tip, but it is very risky. So something that you want to do in very specific occasions, right? I would say try it, experiment, but it's just very risky, especially for a tournament. It's a very risky way of doing it. And you always gotta be careful because I believe, who was it that said, Trickster, you said the bana kote. So I wouldn't blame you for thinking that the person on the left hit the kote, because again, this motion is so risky that it even looked like the kote was scored, right? So I see it that it was displaced based on the camera angle. I wouldn't give it, especially knowing what the drill is, but it is very risky. So something you gotta keep in mind for different techniques. Maybe one day what we should do is kind of like build a technique tree, in the sense of figure out which one is safer, which ones are riskier, which one's more effective. I don't know. I'll need to plan it out, but let me know if that's something that will be fun to do. What is your favorite technique against kote? Let's see if somebody does mine. Okay, so this suriage, look at this suriage. This is the more classic suriage that we're used to. Right? This is, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is normally what we associate with suriage. Both are different, but they serve the same function. Discipline. Suriage is used to clear the shinai out of the way to make the opponent's hit a glancing blow and not a direct hit. Yeah, ideally you don't want even to glance you, right? Because if he has a sword, you don't want him to even like nick your skin off, right? You gotta remember, like back in the day, antibiotics were not a thing, right? So I'm trying to be funny, but anyways, ideally you want it to be completely out of the way. But you're right. That being said, you also depend on the judge's eye. So the more reduction of risk, the more risk you can avoid, I think the better. So the one before kind of looked borderline. This one is a little bit more clear that the guy did not hit. In this example, Suriagle. What's happening with me, guys? Sorry. In this case, Suriage is more distinct, right? Yes, in this case, Suriage is more distinct. It is safer. And I'm gonna say this. This type of Suriage, I think it works more for kote from overhead or under. The other one, it can be very, very risky, especially if the person is coming from underneath. It is possible to do it, but it ends up being a little bit more of an awkward angle and it's harder to get the hit after. It's just, I don't know. I prefer, if I have to do it, I prefer this. But again, tell me what's your favorite technique against kote? So, discipline, that's one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite as well. Kote kae shimen. Hold on. It wasn't the last one? I want to see the last one. Hold on. Okay. This is, I believe, Kote kae shimen, right? Yes. Okay. That's what I wanted to see. This is one of my favorite techniques against kote. For me, I think that it's when it's done at the right time with the right distance, it is very, very safe and very strong looking technique. It's just, I don't know, it's a feeling. It's one of my favorite techniques against kote. So, these are favorite things to do, right? These are favorite things to do at the dojo, right? Kakarigeko. So, what are some of the things that you need to keep in mind in order to do kakarigeko to improve your kendo? Let's see. Let's see what you guys come up with about things that you need to keep in mind to make sure that you do every time you do kakarigeko. Discipline, you said kote kae shimen feels like you're catching a pitch and throwing it back. Yeah. Like it almost feels like you catch it from one side and you shoot it from the other side. Pretty cool, yeah. Okay, let's watch one more kakarigeko while you guys give me some responses. Okay, Justin, you said at your level, keeping posture, getting my back foot up and launching harder from your back foot. Basics, basics. Okay, okay, pretty cool. So I personally don't focus too much on the posture. Not, and hold on. I focus more on the legs. I feel that if I focus more on that, it's gonna keep my posture better. So legs for me, it's one. Let me tell you the first one though. First one's ki. Try to do as many repetitions with one ki as possible. If you practice kakarigeko this way, I think it will make the biggest difference in your energy level, on your sutemi, sanshin, everything, everything. I think ki is a big key that opens many doors. So that's one. Number two, to hit the right target at the right distance. So I'm not too concerned about hitting the with the I'm not too concerned about how I hit more than I'm concerned about how far I'm hitting, what part of my shinai I'm hitting. So I'm not so focused on the mechanics, rather than I'm just trying to focus on hitting the right target with the right part of my sword with a fluid timing. I'm trying to make it as sharp and fast as possible. This, what that does to me is that if I focus on that, I start seeing when I make a mistake, when I don't have enough power on it. So it makes me more conscious. So the way I approach kakarigeko is that I try to keep this in mind: ki, distance, and timing, and my legs. Right. So I try to strong legs. Always trying to make small steps after the sanshin and so on. But then, as I'm doing kakarigeko, I try to pay attention where did I messed up. So, for example, sometimes I notice that if I hit a man, maybe my elbows will open up and my shoulders will come up. Then, okay, I fix this. I try to have that one thing to fix. Realize I'm trying to keep it simple, but I guess I make it a little bit more complicated. But always try to keep in mind ki and your fluidity in your kakarigeko. I think a lot of other things you want to fix. Kakarigeko and uchikomi, for example. In uchikomi, I pay more attention to my posture. In uchikomi, I don't do as okay. And as a matter of fact, I actually picked this up from the book. I always put in my videos. I put a link to a book, the approach to Kendo, approach to all levels. I think that's the title. It's written by Sotaro Honda, Andy Fisher's sensei too, that he mentioned. But in there, he mentions that uchikomi, you do maybe about 70% of your capacity, but then kakarigeko, you do 130%, right? So in 70%, you're paying more attention about your correctness of strike without stopping the fluidity with good energy. And in kakarigeko, you want to throw it all out and more. Oh, sorry, guys. Anyways, Justin, no, sorry, discipline. You said sometimes you get caught up in a gray area. Depends on the motodachi. Don't know if you're doing a fast-paced uchikomi-geiko or kakarigeko. Yes, and okay. So this is another thing. I need to make either a video or a stream about motodachi, and we'll talk about like it's I know what you feel, man. I know what you feel. Sometimes for me, most of my practices right now are with beginners. So for me, it becomes uchikomi, right? Like I'm not trying to overwhelm my kohais, my motodachi. So yes, I understand what you're saying. And then for kakarigeko, there's a couple of extra pieces that you want to put up there, that you want to have continuity, right? So if you notice, and we're gonna watch one more kakarigeko, if you notice, kotemen, tatari hikido, right? So this is normally, unless it's planned in uchikomi, this is normally something that we don't do in uchikomi. So Justin, that is my favorite book. That is totally my favorite book. I'm planning to go meet him at some point. Some point soon. Oh, sorry. Let's watch the Kakarigeko one more time. The last Kakarigeko. Now, there's a big point in the Kakarigeko I wanted to mention on the first Kakarigeko that happened. Okay, this is not Kakarigeko, sorry guys. Okay, now here we are. Okay, this part right here. Discipline, we'll talk about Motodachi in a second. This right here. Why do this? What is the point of doing this to the Kakarite when they're doing Kakarigeko? What do you think is the reason for that? What benefit is he getting from getting this during his Kakarigeko? That being said, I think the guy on the right, he is a very good Motodachi. He's receiving and anticipating the turn of his opponent to make the opening clear, so the person, when he turns around, not only he has the right distance, but also knows where he's going to go. Discipline, you said you do both in one breath, but Motodachi timing and opening can be tricky. Yes, this is why we need a good Motodachi. Many dojos, they train that Kakarigeko, you should make your own opening. Yes, that's okay too, and a good Motodachi also allows for this. But if the Motodachi wants something specific, he will anticipate to make the opening so that way it is correct. For example, you don't really make an opening for a do during Kakarigeko, right? The Motodachi has to give it to you. So one thing you want to make sure as Motodachi is that if you want the Kakarite to do something specific, you have to give some signs. Now, some dojos also, they have a standard response to something. Some dojos, after doing kotemen, for example, they do hikido, like they're doing here. This is okay as well. Or hikiwasa, yes. Okay, so he's doing, every time they do kotemen, they do a hikiwasa. I think most of the times it's hikido, but I guess in this option, it wasn't open. But regardless, what's the reason for this? I got a response, I'll read in a second, hold on. This. Okay, Gareth, you said to build perseverance. Okay, that could be a good reason for that, but there's something more. Trickster, in Kakari, Motodachi may 1. Help you and open all targets, or 2. Keep on Kamae and you must open for Suki, for the sickness, the opening. Okay, yes, correct. But when you're not a good Motodachi, and when you have people in your dojo that are not good Motodachi, you need to be more clear with those openings, and you shouldn't be too stiff on the person doing the Kakarigeko, especially when the Kakarite is not very experienced. It's something you want to keep in mind, because we want to promote success from our partner. We don't want to put them down to make them feel that they cannot reach it, they cannot do it. So it's a very thin line to balance, but you want to make sure that you are promoting growth rather than frustration. So why would a Kakarite, why a Motodachi will push somebody off like that? Let's see. So normally when this is done, senseis are trying to tell you that you are too tense in your upper body. When the Motodachi does this, most of the times when the person's too tense, you will see that the whole body kind of follows the shinai. Ideally, you want to be able to hit your technique, and then right after the technique, relax the wrist and relax the fingers, right? Have that continuity instead of just tensing up too much, because then you become vulnerable to being pushed and countered during Jigeko, for example. So you want to be able to keep that ability to keep going forward even though you're being pushed to the side. This is a great tool to help people understand when they're tensing up too much. That makes sense? Trixie, you said 3. Motodachi always interferes your attacks. This is another type of kakarieko too. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite drills when I was in Japan was that they would do like Ippon kakarieko. So one side is constantly attacking, the other side is constantly blocking, and the kakarieko stops when the kakarite gets an Ippon. So that's a fun drill. Please don't do it if you don't have much experience, because then there could be a lot of elbow hits and painful do hits that they can be very annoying, and you want to avoid you want to avoid people getting hurt, especially if they don't have that much experience. But I think it's a fun drill, just because it also helps you understand how to create openings and be aware of the habits of the person blocking, and you can take advantage of these things, because you can end up with any ippon, and as a kakarite you get that eye of seeing, oh, what are the patterns. As a motodachi, you're also seeing what are the patterns and what can you do, because you can attack, you can cover and counter, you can counter, hit back, and whatever, you can do whatever you want. The kakarigeko only ends when the kakarite gets the ippon, not when the motodachi does. So it's a fun drill. If you try it, please come back and let me know how it went. Gareth, you had a typo on what? In four, sure? Okay, yeah, the 4 and the R are close together. Yes, it's a very good tool to be pushed out to the side like that, in order to avoid having that extra tension on your shoulders. Oh, discipline. You just mentioned that sometimes motodachi will turn kakarieko into oikomi when they retreat a little. Yes, and there's also a very, it's a very purposeful exercise too, right? You want to, this I think also is to develop that perseverance, and to make sure that they keep putting energy into it. Okay, so I believe now they're gonna do Jigeko. This Jigeko I enjoy watching for several reasons. One is because nobody here is going there holding back. I think this is a good example of a good Jigeko, in the sense that, okay, yeah, maybe there's a lot of attacks too quick. Now they're starting to like get a little bit more communication, but there is not a dull moment, and nobody here is trying to just go in to be tricky. They're really challenging each other's technique. Wow, okay. This moment right here. So you can see a little bit of the dynamic. I feel that here no one is trying to go back, no one's trying to be tricky, and they're trying to develop that understanding of pressure, semi, distance. Shen, I don't know if you're still here, but a little bit of this is something that it's interesting to watch and interesting to steal for ourselves. So if you watch the guy on the right, look how he applies the pressure, tame, and technique. Okay, hold on. Let me do it. Let me do it one more time. Right here. Full speed, then I'll do slow motion. Okay, so look the application of semi and tame, and then at the right moment executing the technique. Okay, so from here they're still getting into the distance where they're gonna still be threatening each other. From this distance you can already see the tension, see the engagement. The tension doesn't start after the swords cross. Here, they still feel that there is something that could happen, right? Person on the right takes half a step forward, and then there's a little bit of hold when he notices that his opponent is coming in. He goes in for the man. He does this in one fluid motion. Hold on. So look at push, hold, go. A fraction of a second, and if he would have gotten a reaction from his opponent, maybe he would have not gone. Maybe he would have done something else. Oh, and that's another thing. If you're in that position where you give that pressure, you can't just stay there either, right? You have to do something, whether it is bringing your left foot to create a little bit of extra pressure, control, osai, and then go for a technique, something. You can't just be there, because then it becomes a play. Then it becomes a kind of like a game of chicken, right? You want to put the pressure, hold for the opportunity. If the opportunity is there, go, and if not, keep putting pressure. You see, putting the pressure, and you're gonna notice that his momentum doesn't stop here. He keeps the momentum going, but only commits to the technique once he sees the opening. Very important skill to learn. Trickster, you say tall Kendoka provocator. Yes, he's tall, but I think this is a skill that we can all use regardless of our size. Okay, we were talking about with Andy about blocking, right? When it's not okay to block, when actually on the discussion over there, we're talking about how, okay, what are you supposed to do? Let yourself getting hit. So this is, I think, a good interaction where there is an appropriate block with a good intention of continuation after. So if you notice here, right now they're trying to create that pressure, that communication. One Kenshi just decides to go, but it's not necessarily a good time to go. There was nothing happening that gave an opening, right? So as a matter of fact, he was already kind of in motion to do a technique, but the distance wasn't quite right. So he almost received them like he's going to do hikiwasa. Obviously, the position wasn't optimal for that, so he decides not to do that, and he re-engages. Actually, I wouldn't even say hikiwasa. Maybe, let's see. So if you see here, the person on the right goes in without any clear indication that there's an opening. He just went. Guy on the left, he deflects, he blocks the shinai with that forward intention. it looked almost like he could have done a Suryagemen, but the distance came out too close. So instead of throwing a technique in there, what does he do? He keeps intention forward towards the opponent, always attentive, and making sure that he resets as safely, as quick as possible for a next technique. I think that this is a good example of how to handle somebody that is overreactive and is just jumpy or whatever. You want to be able to have control and be able to have a good opportunity to come in. So it happens sometimes where your opponent just shoots and you have to make sure that you adapt to the situation. It could be very stressful to do this in a test, but I think with this type of interaction in your test, you will be successful because you're not just blocking, you're keeping the intention and attention towards your opponent. My thoughts though. Let me catch up. Gareth, you're saying that this is exactly what you're working on. Okay, tell me more. Gareth, you said he took descent. Discipline, the guy on the right overreached. Guy on the left was in a position for kote from the beginning. Guy on the right lost contact with the shinai. That's how he got hit. Are we talking about this? Because right here, like the, you mean in this interaction? Because nobody got hit here. So discipline, you're saying that's more of a deflection than a block. So what's the difference? I'm gonna ask the same question that Andy asked me during the stream, right? Because yeah, I like to refer all of it. I like to say, don't block, instead deflect. But you know, he stopped his opponent from hitting him. Ideally, you want to have the readiness to do a technique. But in this situation, there's nothing really that he could do without, if this was a test, without looking bad. So Trixie, you're saying that you think that the right fighter did not calculate the distance. I think not only he didn't calculate the distance, I think he didn't really get an opening because the guy on the left was in full kamae. He was fully protected. And this is one of the reasons why a strong kamae, this is what a good kamae means, that you are not open for a technique. That being said, maybe the guy on the left could have had an opening for kote, for example, but it's not something that he was able to prepare because the guy just went. He wasn't able to make that opening happening, so it would have been kind of like a shot of luck. It could have been also that he might have to adjust the distance in a weird way, and especially for testing demonstrations, I think it's a blend between Jigeiko and testing, right? You want to give your best kendo, you want to show, because remember, there's kids around watching, right? They're trying to give an example to the kids of what good Jigeiko should look like. So they're trying to make it interactive, but at the same time, correct. So, I don't know. Keep that in mind when you're watching this Jigeiko. This is a very cool interaction too. Very, very cool Sanshin after. And I think that this is something that kind of, I think this kote that we're about to see, it's is the result of the previous interaction. Discipline, you said that maybe he had the opening for a kote, I believe. I don't remember who said that. So now maybe he's more prepared because he had that interaction. Good kendoka keep the information. I always make the joke that Eiga Sensei is a computer because he's keeping track of everything that happened, and then later on in the fight, he uses that against his opponent. A lot of the fights from Eiga end that way. So right here, I think it's a good example of that. He took the information that happened from the previous interaction, and now he's ready. So even before he realizes that he's going, he shoots that kote. And on this one, he had a little bit more distance to give that pressure and create that momentum forward. Remember, speed doesn't come from 0 to instant. out of nowhere. You have to create that momentum, and that's exactly what he was doing as he was approaching. Instead of stepping in from far and then being on command to go, what does he do? He starts creating that momentum as he gets closer to the opponent. Give it a second. So here, you see, here he didn't have that chance. For the second one, he said, okay, well, I'm coming in with a little bit more patience, I guess, or a little bit more of that pressure. And here, as he's closing the distance, look how he does it. He's sliding in and throws the kote when he sees the opponent kind of coming for that man. Democritus, thank you for passing by. Welcome to the stream. This is what you said. Blocking is when your feet are planted or your tip is not pointing at the opponent. You automatically lose when your tip is not on the opponent. So I agree with you in that, but on vocabulary wise, you could also say that deflection is a block too, right? We could argue this thing, especially if if two lawyers will spend the whole day saying that this is blocking. So I think that was a little bit of the miscommunication that Andy and I were having at some point. That's why I was like, okay, I understand what he's saying. Is that I always try to make the differentiation between blocking and deflecting. As deflecting is you getting the sword out of the way so you can go in. Blocking is just bluntly stopping the sword without anything else after. But there's a lot of gray area in between. It's not so black and white. I don't know, opinion. Justin, in my opinion, a block hard stops the cutting motion. The best example you can point out is at the beginner's attempt at Kaeshi. So, a beginner's attempt at Kaeshi. A lot of time you see that horizontal block on the Shinai rather than half. So, and this is the part where I can say that we can argue about this for ages. The last Hachidan tournament that Ega participated, I believe it was this year, he did a brutal Kaeshi Do. But guess what? He blocked it right here, right? Because the distance was close. So here's what I say. Okay, I could argue this because then he's blocking, but at the same time, he's deflecting the sword because he's moving out of the way and he's ready. So this is where it gets kind of confusing where to have a black and white distinction. I'm not saying that any of us is wrong. I'm just saying that we have to kind of like try to see it from different angles as well. Justin, the deflection coming around to the other side of the Shinai for the strike. A deflection just directs the strike off the target. The deflection coming around to the other side of the Shinai for the strike. A deflection just redirects the strike off the target. You wouldn't consider Harai, for example, to be a deflection either. Yeah, and you see, and this is where I think I always like Griva Sensei's explanation, and says Kendo should be simple, right? Don't complicate it. So mainly for me, I like to focus on the goal that I'm trying to do. I try to avoid being flat-footed. I call this flat-footed. And I want to be able to always have intention and attention to my opponent. And if you guys watch the last time that Ega Sensei was on the Hachidan, he has a crazy Kaeshi Do. And as a matter of fact, he received it very close. He hit on the right side. On the right side of the opponent, right? So this side. And instead of going forward, he goes back, right? So it's completely unorthodox. It kind of goes against a lot of the things that we are taught, but it works, right? And you couldn't say that that was wrong. First of all, because it's Ega Sensei. Second of all, because it's Hachidan. And third of all, because it worked. So it's just a funny example that I can think of. Gareth, you're working on refining the idea of making that provocative motion and maintaining the time is sufficient to respond flexibly to the reaction or non-reaction of my Aite in appropriate way. If you find the secret to that, man, let me know. We also gotta let know a couple of friends down in Peru too, because I told them if I found the secret, I have to tell them. It's the thing that we're all working on at the moment, man. It is a great skill to have. I feel like I'm tapping into it. I feel like I have a lot of, I feel like I have picked up a lot of that skill. But when I go against high ranks, like when I go, for example, in California and practice with Ariga Sensei, I feel like a little kid again. So Yeah, I'm still working a lot of that too. My problem specifically, it's being able to come in with that pressure, and then as I'm putting the pressure forward to my opponent, not over tense my legs, so I'm flexible and I'm able to move at an instant. Right now, I feel that every time I come in with the pressure and the pressure goes for too long, I kind of get stuck. So this is my roadblock right now, my mental block at the moment. Um, so Lucky, just dropping in to say hi before your practice starts. Lucky, thank you very much for passing by. Really appreciate you passing. If you can hit the like button and maybe share this with someone you want their kendo to improve, let me know. Gareth, you will pass 6 Dan. If you do, maybe. So maybe we can pass it together, bro. Discipline. Doing a kayashi that deep like Ega. That's how Ando got scored on by Murakami's in the finals of Murakami first point. Ando had bad timing. Listen, if there was a bet inside, I probably would have bet for. I'm kidding. I wouldn't have bet, but I was running on Ando. I really wanted Ando to win. That being said, I think that he was just too nervous. So yes, I agree. Like bad timing, but it came from a mixture of things. Wes, you think that the best block slash deflections are ones that leave you in a position that follow up with a wasa. That is what I'm trying to do, failing 80% of the time. Yes, and I think if you want to take a step back from that, it's not just the block giving you the opportunity to strike. Is the in the core is you being mentally ready to do another technique. You guys hear me talk a lot about Griva Sensei. Griva Sensei has been a great mentor in the past couple of years. I don't think I would have passed my Golden without him at that time, especially coming out of COVID without practice. I thank a lot for the conversation that he had with me. Regardless, the main thing I think is to have your mindset always thinking one more technique. So if you do kote men, you could do another man. Even if you got that man, you went through, but you should be ready to do another man. Maybe if like an opponent magically appears behind you, should be able to hit him too. So it's a funny expression, it's a funny way to say it, but I think if you develop this mindset of always being ready for one more, it's a great tool to have, because even if you have a block where the shinai or the position is not optimal for it, your mindset is going to overcome that as well. So this is really one of the core elements that I want to implement consistently in my kendo. My mindset being ready always for one more. And a great tool, and I think it goes back to what I was saying before about not dragging the left leg, is that if you're gonna do men, think that you're gonna do men, but just don't do the second men, so that way your left leg doesn't drag. It's I don't know. I could talk about this for this. I need to find a better way to express this. So I guess maybe have like little videos already ready for you to watch. Justin, at Ega's level, you're jammed to your own tune. You're jamming to your own tune. Like none of the fencing basics you teach your students look like what I do against fencers your level, but they're all there. Yes, I understand that. Ega has his own kendo. I agree. Gareth, you're agreeing with the overtensing legs, man. If I find the secret, I'll share it with you. But if you find it, you gotta share it with me. Great kote. Very nice kotame interaction right here. Sorry, I went too far, but so you guys know that one of my favorite things to practice or to do and to watch is Iman, right? I feel like there's a lot of tools that we can get from practicing consistently Iman. And I think after that comes Aikotemen, right? Or like in this case, it's kind of Aikote Iman, but or Aikote the Banamen. I don't know how you would classify this one, right? But look at this. 1 second, hold on. Let me go back a little bit. I don't want to go back too much. So I think the guy on the left had a little bit better performance of it. Let's slow down to see if that's correct. But let's see also what made it happen, what made it possible. Left guy starts the momentum first. He connects the kote. They're pretty much both connecting the kote at the same time, but he is already in motion for the second one. You see? This maybe his opponent had a better timing for that man, but as you saw, he missed it. The fact that he was able to come in with that momentum, he was able to push his opponent's shinai out of the way to get that kote man in, to get that man in, right? It's something so subtle. And to be honest, this time around watching it, I'm watching the result. I saw the result and I wanted to go back to see why was this successful. And I went back too far. Sorry, guys. And I noticed this, that he is pushing in prior to his opponent. Watch. You see, he starts the motion forward. Oh, not yet, sorry. On this one. Right here, he's fully engaged in kamae, right? He starts the motion forward first, and his opponent replies. At this point, some people might say that this is a very close distance to throw the kote, right? Look how close it's coming in. Good. And then at this point, his opponent, it's out of the center. I think it's a great interaction. I think if this was a test, it would give him positive points for doing that. This Iman, very nice as well. So I don't know if this is happening to you already, but now kind of my eyes gravitate more towards the guy that now's on the left. He was on the right before because he was the one that he produced better results at the beginning. Now it's kind of evening out, so our eyes might be start gravitating the other side, right? This is a very important thing to keep in mind when you're a shimpan. You want to be neutral, right? You don't want to be saying, oh, this guy had a good motion, I want to watch him. No, you want to be neutral. You want to practice this as well. It sucks to lose a nippon because the shimpan was paying attention more towards the other guy. On the other side, you should be able to give good kendo so that when the shimpan look at you. But just keep in mind that. Good tip, Discipline. Good tip. For me, I don't necessarily keep that in mind, especially because I am I'm trying to keep always the pressure on the men, right? But my point of reference is that, and again, this is something Griva Sensei mentioned, and I think it's funny. If the person is in Kamai, right here, like that, right? So I imagine that I'm going to scratch him, like right here. I don't know, for some reason that just makes it where my kote always lands. Talking about when doing Kihon, right? Don't think that I have like a kote that always lands. Don't take that out of context. Very nice man. I'm gonna ask you guys, if you were watching that man, who you think got it, left or right, and why was it good, right? If you can take a second to do that, I think this is very, very important, very interesting, to kind of start sharing. So, okay, I know there's a little bit of delay always. Let me break it down a little bit. I think the guy on the left had better entry, better results, right? Let's see. You can see here when you slow it down like this, a little bit of the pressure fight, right? You saw that right pushed in first, but then left kind of reply to that pressure. Not go, he just replied to the pressure. That kind of made the person on the right kind of go back a little bit, right? And now right did that to left. You see, he does this pressure in, but he's not really getting a reaction from his opponent, so that makes him hesitate. Same thing here. It's very tricky, very tricky, very tricky exchange. It was an I man, right? Let's first agree on that. If you guys agree, it was an I man, right? It was pretty much the same timing, and I don't think any of them would have been given as a point. I'm purely analyzing the pressure, the entry, and how would be, you know, seen as a testing panel. How will they see it? Or I don't know, just break it down a little bit. So I like a lot of the interaction. I feel that this guy is kind of getting desperate. That's kind of, I guess, why my eyes went more towards the guy on the left. You see, he does this thing that he pressures and goes back. He is being a little bit more poised. Very good kamae. Very good intention forward. He starts pushing in at the same time that the other opponent does, right? And it just came in, I feel like, with a little bit more strength on it. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. I think it's a very... I want to do I men like this, for example, right? I think this is a good exchange from both of them. I just think that the guy on the left had a little bit more control. So let's watch the rest of the fight and see maybe if he has a little bit of stronger kendo. Interesting use of shikakewasa, right? A lot of times I feel that when we are studying this whole seme and tame, we end up falling into ojiwasa most of the time. But I think that this is a good example for us to break down what happens when the opponent doesn't react, right? Great use of ojiwasa, I think. So he's putting the pressure, his opponent is, for lack of a better word, being chill. And he starts putting the pressure in. He comes in with the attack to the kote as a way to make the opening and then going for the man. Great use of the shikakewasa. Now, what I want to do real quick is see a little bit what, maybe if you guys can chime in, I will appreciate that. What do you guys think that this guy saw on this guy to give him the green light to go for that kote? For that, for that kote man. Okay. Right here, I feel that he's giving a lot of hand motion without his hands. Maybe that could be one. He's thinking, oh, he's planted. Right now, he's fixing himself. You see, he's moving in with the body, and he's kind of like not doing anything. He's moving his hands a lot. So maybe that's what it was. At this point, he went down, and he took that advantage of that. Maybe also the fact that he dropped his hands, and he's been gathering information that he's been a lot of. If you move your hands too much and you don't move your body, you end up being planted. So maybe this is what he saw. This is purely assumption, guys. Don't think that this is, but this is something that I want to understand. What are they seeing? What is in their mind at that moment that gives them the green light to go? Whether they were successful or not, I think this is a very good question to start picking it up. Let me catch up with some of the comments. Wes, you're saying angle is hard to see, but the left looked like he had the center a bit more than the right. I think so too, and I think it's because of that. He had that momentum coming in. Left had an edge, and knee semi-triggered the other. Okay. Right side, he kept contact on the shinai, and he started his men at the opponent's nakayui, which is optimum for men. Okay. I think at discipline, I'm not sure if this is referring to the men before or the kota men right now. I think you're referring to the men. Democritus, make a short video of this shikake wasa, please. Okay, let me write down the time. What time? How long have I been streaming? What was the timing? Okay, an hour 42, so maybe I'll say like an hour and 40. Where's my pen? Dang it. My notebook, okay. Sorry guys, this will save me a tremendous amount of time. If you guys clip it too, I can go back to the clips as well and just, make like a quick edit and give a little bit more better examples. So Gareth, one of your senses will call this Otoshimen. Yes, and I said Kotemen just because this is the timing and the motion that it was. As a matter of fact, I believe that he went on the left side or the right side of the opponent, and then he went on the other side for the man. We'll watch it one more time. Looks like Harai Kotemen. I would say it was more like a Otoshi, right? I don't know, because he wasn't down motion. It wasn't on the side. Democritus, you're welcome. I'll get on that. Okay. Thank you, Democritus. It will help. So from here, okay, no, it's not this one. Sorry. Okay, so right here, yeah, I wouldn't say it was Harai necessarily, just because he went into this motion right here, and you see he's going in right. He's going in very deep. And the opponent is raising the shinai at this point, and he goes on the other side to do the man. Yeah, I mean, like, it's, vocabulary wise, yeah, it could be osai, it could be otoshi. Yeah, I wouldn't call it harai because I didn't see it like, like as a slap to get out of the way. It was more of kind of like offsetting the timing and suppressing his shinai briefly, so he had the chance to come in forward. But needless to say, great execution of shikake wasa. Great execution of shikake wasa. Vantage, what do you mean discipline? There's a hard vantage point for you. So this is something, guys, oh my God, this is something that I want everybody to implement in their kendo. Look what happens when they do a technique, they crash, maybe the technique wasn't successful, but immediately taking up the moment to go back into kamae as soon as possible to keep going with the practice. Watch. Oh, it's not this one, the next one. That was a good man though. Um, you see, right there, he's going back immediately to keep going with the practice. Many times when I see this happening at the dojo, people, myself included, not gonna lie, a lot of times come in and then you're like, okay, now we're gonna separate. No, 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 no. Make it real. I think if you do this like this in your test, they'll say, okay, you missed. It's okay. You're ready. You're taking advantage, especially on testing. You want to take advantage of every second to make an opportunity. In Shiai, if you're behind 1 point, you want to make sure you get that point as quick as possible. That being said, you need to take advantage of every moment of your practice, or your Jigeko, or your Shiai. This is, I think, one of the most effective things to do. Discipline, the angle of the camera. Yeah, man, like, you know what I want to do? I just cannot justify buying another camera. But I would like to practice, especially going to Japan. I would like to have a 360 camera to be able to kind of like change the angles a little bit and be able to see some different angles for the same technique. Either that or have like a multiple camera setup for Jigekos. But then again, that's also expensive. There's one Jigeko that I used in my stream before, where there's actually a multi-setup camera, but the cool thing is that they also have a camera on the top, and you can see how the hara is done and like all the stuff. That was pretty cool. Very nice. Very nice. Let's break down this last man real quick. So you see what's happening here is that guy on the left, he is putting that pressure forward, and maybe he didn't get a reaction from the front side, but we're getting a reaction from the back foot, right? Look at this. Wait, hold on. He comes in with the pressure, and he got a reaction from here. He made it come in, and it's hard to see who actually got the Ippon there. I think the guy on the left did, just because he looked that much. Oh, that actually was a pretty good. Hold on, that's actually pretty good. Ah, now I went back too far. Sorry, guys. 42. Gareth, completely agree, but I think it's undervalued maybe on this side of the world. If you watch the All Japan, you're actually gonna see it quite often. The last All Japan winner, Hoshiko, I think is exceptionally good at doing that. As a matter of fact, I believe on the first time he won it with that. So, yeah, you see, like this guy, he's very good at putting that pressure forward. Gareth, another thing that I'm going to say that he didn't do it right though. That's a good point. Maybe it's something I can make a video about. The guy didn't do it right. Why? He just put his foot back, right? I think one thing that makes it successful is not only to put the foot back as a way to create distance and power from that position, but also is that you want to kind of give a little bit of that moving back, insinuate that you're going backwards, but you're really not, right? Just to kind of offset the timing of the opponent's attack. That makes them hesitate a little bit. And this is what makes it where you have a bigger opening for you to get that. Oh, Gareth, you weren't referring to that. Sorry, what were you referring to? Oh, so then my bad. Sorry, can you please? To the after attack earlier. Wait, hold on. I think this is the man that I wanted to break down. To the after attack earlier. I'm lost, man. I'm sorry. Like attacks an opponent. Okay. I got you. I think I'll go back to it too, so we can watch a little bit of it. I think I know where it is. So the biggest thing here is that I feel that he is pushing in with the right leg, creating the opponent a little bit of insecurity. The other thing is that his opponent is throwing the shinai back and sideways, right? This is something that you don't want to do. And this is what kind of makes it where this guy has a better intention towards the opponent. And this is the part that I wanted to... Okay. So you see how he uses the foot to then move the shinai. He's not just moving the shinai. I think this is what makes it extremely nerve-wracking to see, to be in front of this, right? Look, he moves the sword and then the shinai moves because, he moves the body and the shinai moves because of that. At this point, he's already in momentum. His opponent kind of anchors back to get that shinai in. Now, this is the one that I really wanted to break down. Same thing, foot, sword. Foot or body, sword. Body, you see, he's in momentum. He's coming in, and his opponent does the same thing. He goes to the side to get that man. Always you want to have that intention towards your opponent and to be able to have the momentum before your opponent. I think if you anticipating doesn't mean, oh, I'm going to hit Kote because I know he's going to come for man. No. Anticipating means you have momentum before your opponent makes the decision to move. And then, not when they make the decision to move, but then they make a decision for the technique. So you anticipate when they have the intention to move, and you can attack after this point, because you're going to attack between the time that they decide to move and the time that they decide a technique. I think this is a little bit complicated, but anyways, this is all in my head. Gareth, let's see if I can find... If that makes sense, please let me know. Or if you have a better way of explaining it. I think it was right around here, Gareth, where you were talking about. It wasn't that, right? It was that one, right? Hold on. No, it was the one before. Right here. Yeah. Okay, I think I got you, Gareth. Okay, that right there, correct? So this is, I think, big part of this, I think, is the mindset. You want to make sure, and good catch, Gareth. You got very, very, very good catch, because this is a very important point to make, and something we're talking about. That ability to continue attacking and creating opportunities a lot of times comes from your mindset. And if you train your mindset to always be ready for another opportunity, try it. At the beginning of the dojo, Okay, the worst thing it could happen, you can be redirected and saying you're attacking too much, right? But when you are, especially at the lower levels, don't get in the habit of attacking and then just chilling to go back to your spot. No, no, no. You want to attack and you want to be ready to do something else. Nishimura actually lost this year because of that. They went both in Suba Serie A and like it was kind of like a very soft Atari, I think, but he disengaged just very chill, and his opponent didn't have mercy. He just went for it. Maybe it was a little bit of confusion between the new rules and blah blah blah. But needless to say, you always want to go back with the intention that there could be an opportunity and you're gonna take it. Does that make sense? Yeah, training that mindset is the hard bit. I think the best example that I had was I was in California and they were doing the youth training. So they were training the kids, and the coach was constantly there telling one more technique, one more, come on. And sometimes when the kid wasn't getting it, he would even tell them kote or kote, man. So yeah, with the kids works, right? But for adults, it's a little bit tricky too. But definitely something that you want to train for yourself. That being said, I think that was the last. This was the last GK call. So, what in your opinion, what are maybe 3 things that we need to always keep in mind to develop strong and good kendo? If you can let me know down what are your thoughts, I will tell you mine in a second. Yeah, I believe that was the last one. I believe the presentation is over. Yeah, correct. So let me just switch up here. Add another video, but maybe I'll just do it next stream, because I think we're gonna go a little bit too long, and I have to go to practice as well. Discipline. You said that you think that the new rules. What does one breath mean? Yeah. We're getting to a little bit of a better understanding of this, but needless to say, he went back in a chill way, and this is part of the reminders that we got for the rules. You want to go back engaged. You don't want to just like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go back. No. You want to be in the fight the whole time. That being said, yes, I do think that he got hit. I think the rules played a big part on why he lost that fight. So if you can share with me what are 3 things that you feel that we should always keep in mind to help us develop our kendo. That being said, I had a conversation with Sensei this year actually, and he mentioned to me that there's 3 elements in kendo, right? There is what's it called? Correct, powerful, and beautiful, right? Like if you see, let's divide kendo into these three elements: powerful, correct, and beautiful. So what order would you put those in? What priorities would you put in first? Beautiful, correct, strong. What order would you put them in? Within this conversation, the purpose of this is it's the emphasis that we have in our kendo. Many times when people start kendo, they see, oh, okay, I have a stick, and in order to do damage to the person, I have to hit him hard. And guess what? When they're doing it hard this way, it makes it completely incorrect, right? It makes it where not only, okay, you may have one hard hit, but guess what happens if you miss that hit? It will be very difficult for you to recover for the next hit. Okay, blah blah. That being said, okay, Justin, you said if it's correct, it'll be strong. If it's correct and strong, it'll be beautiful. Okay, maybe you had the same talk that I had with this sensei, and your interpretation was exactly as he brought it up. We first need to focus in correct kendo. So this is the part that is, I think, the hardest, especially for beginners, because nobody wants to do it slow. Nobody wants to do it relaxed. Nobody wants to do it, just for the purpose of understanding the dynamics of how things work. But this is such an important part of building up a strong kendo. And strong kendo, to me, it doesn't mean hitting hard. Strong kendo means a lot of the things that we saw today. Good follow through. If you miss, you crash, and then you can recuperate because your body posture, it's there, your balance, your stability. Also, power transfers into speed. You become fast with good support by having the proper body posture and the proper technique and mechanics into your body. And when you put all this together, guess what? You get beautiful kendo, right? Because kendo is not meant to be like, oh, okay, it's a painting, right? You can see, oh, it's beautiful. No, it's fluid. Sometimes it will not be beautiful, but sometimes it will. But when you have these two elements, that's when all of us, we go like, oh, that was good, right? We saw it a lot today with a lot of interactions between the eye men, and we're like, oh, this side was good. Oh my God, let's rewatch this one. This is something that we understand as beautiful. This is what catches our eye, what we want to look at. So always, guys, if you're setting up yourself for training, try to build up in this order. Don't worry about I'm not fast enough. No, a lot of times we missing speed because we miss the dynamics, we miss the technique to move correctly. So if you work on this, I'm sure that your kendo will develop in a very nice way. Gareth, you said you agree. A strong is tricky word though, can mean different things. I'm covering that now. Okay, cool. I guess you had the delay now on the writing. I know there's a little bit of a delay. I think maybe like 10 seconds, 5 seconds maybe sometimes. But yeah, guys, patience. Always, whenever I get a new student, especially when they're kids, I tell the parents that kendo at the beginning can be tedious because it's a lot of repetition and it's a lot of, boring stuff. But once you get into that feeling and then you understand how to do things, you have so much more improvement and it's easier for you to actually build yourself up. I hope all this makes sense, guys. I know it's a lot of information. I'm trying to keep it as simple as I can, but I know I do talk a lot. Gareth, you said, well, nonsense is said, kendo is a martial art. Must also be beautiful, right? Must be also beautiful. Okay, I guess one B in there. Sorry, English is my second language. Sometimes I spend too long in thinking this thing. If it's Yoda, right? Like you can read it both ways. Anyways, so no, I'm teasing because of that. Because like English is my second language. That being said, guys, I hope I can. I always welcome your recommendations of how you want me to structure this. What type of things would you like to explore? I'm always welcome for suggestions. If you haven't, there's the Discord server. I'm gonna put the link in the box. Give me 1 second. You're welcome to join the Discord server, meet new kendokas in there and all over the world because we have a bunch of people from everywhere, and if you want to go train somewhere, it'll be a good place. If you have any questions that you want to ask me or you want to send me a message, that's a good way to contact me, and this way we can keep in contact, we can keep making these things better. I'm doing this for everybody to improve, not only for me. That being said, you guys are big motivation for my development in kendo. So I always thank everybody watching, because not only you help me stay motivated on this, but you also help me stay motivated in researching and doing more kendo myself. If you like to become a member of the channel, guys, I just put the link. You have a little bit extra perks. You help support the streams. Everything goes back into the stream itself and the videos as well. And I have a couple of extra perks there that you can start taking advantage of. One thing I would like to work on maybe we can have communications where you can send me videos and we can talk about them and improve our Kendo together. Wes, thank you very much for your support. Really appreciate it. Gareth, you said first time watching, you enjoy the structure and interaction. If you have any advice, please send them my way. I will always take into consideration. Next week, I'm gonna change a little bit of format. I'm gonna see if I can actually start watching the videos directly from YouTube. Mainly because I'm having problems with the VLC that downloading videos. So I just wanna have that as a backup. And yeah, so that's going to be one thing. We're gonna do a little bit of a different setup for next week. Discipline, you said do Kendo correctly, slow is smooth is fast. I think you said that before too, right? I like that. In time, you will change yourself to be the most proficient and efficient you can be. As a matter of fact, doing Kendo slow is harder. Being able to move, like just by moving your hands up and stepping forward, this could be challenging for a lot of people. It's something that if you're doing Kendo for years, you take this for granted, but it's really hard for beginners to do this. And if you go out yourself and you do it as slow as you can, you will develop much more balanced ability, speed, power, all of these things. It's incredible how we take this for granted. We don't have the patience to do this, but so many benefits from it. Also, the fact that you can actually visualize yourself doing the thing correctly in slow motion and then transfer it into regular motion. I also want to do a series, by the way, on passing tests all the way up to Golden. As you guys know, in the Discord server, there is some of you may know, somebody translated a testing guide all the way up to Golden. So I kind of want to do maybe one stream or maybe video, I don't know yet, on each rank. So hope that will be fun as well. Democritus, you're welcome. Thank you very much for your support. If you haven't, guys, please hit the like button. If you could share this stream or this channel with people you know, it really will help out. And anything I can do for you, you guys please let me know, okay? I think for today, that's going to be it. I hope you guys keep practicing and today was useful for you. If it was, come back at some point and let me know, okay? You guys have a good rest of your weekend. Please, happy Thanksgiving, by the way. I was going to stream on Thursday, but I didn't remember there was Thanksgiving, so I ended up not streaming. So I'll try to do on this Thursday, okay? Thank you very much, guys. I hope you guys come back. I hope we get to practice at some point. Remember, I'm here. If you guys need anything, I will help out, okay? Thank you very much, guys. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.